In last night's State of the Union, President Trump attacked me personally. To be honest, it was unexpected, but not a surprise, because this is exactly what petty tyrants do. But let me be clear. Donald Trump and his lackeys aren't attacking me because I've done something wrong. They're attacking me because I've done something right. Republicans in Georgia and in the White House are terrified of voter engagement and the power of the people. Why? Because they're failing to deliver on their promises to protect and defend Americans. Trump and his complicit Republicans want to distract from their failures by targeting those of us who have the audacity to stand up and demand more. They're scared of us because we actually fight for the people, because we believe in we the people. They're afraid that we will show Americans and the world what's right, not through insult, but through action. And yes, we've taken action. We've registered and turned out thousands of Georgians. We've lowered energy prices for the working class and tackled the climate crisis that is gripping every part of our country. That's why they're abusing their power to come after me, because we've shown we can deliver. Independent fact checkers have repeatedly called these attacks false, but the lies are the point. This isn't a new strategy. It's the common playbook of authoritarians and authoritarians in waiting. And while I might be one of the first targets for their abuse of power, I will not be the last. That's why we must not back down. Our country, our people, and our future are worth fighting for. And as I've always said, when we fight, we win. So how do we fight back in this moment? First, we have to call out lies when they spew them. We can't give them a pass. We have to forcefully, consistently push back. Second, we have to organize. Louder, smarter, and together. They want us silent, discouraged, and divided. Instead, we show up, we mobilize, and we bring more people into this movement to deliver for the people. Third, we engage. They wouldn't work so hard to suppress our voices if our votes didn't matter. So we register, we turn out, and we remind them that the power still belongs to the people and that the government must serve the people, not the other way around. This fight isn't just about me. It's about all of us. And if we stand together, I promise you, we win. Now, let's talk about the rest of the speech. All 1 hour and 40 minutes of the self-indulgent, factually inaccurate spectacle, which, by the way, was the longest speech of this kind in at least 60 years. President Trump repeated debunked lies about millions of dead people over 100 years old receiving Social Security checks. He used guests in the chamber to push a dangerous Republican narrative on immigrants, crime, and transgender rights, trying to distract us from the human cost of his attacks. Notably, he spent very little time on the economy and how it will be impacted by the nihilistic trade war that he's launched, except to blame his predecessor and others for the mess he's creating. I could go on, but I'd much rather recap, respond, and strategize with some help. I can think of no one better to speak about all of this than my guest today, Jen Psaki. She's a former White House press secretary, the host of a new primetime show on MSNBC, and the host of the new limited series podcast, The Blueprint with Jen Psaki. Jen Psaki, welcome to Assembly Required.
I'm so happy to be here. I love your podcast and I learn so much every time. You'd be an amazing professor, by the way, but I learn so much every time I listen to it. So thanks for having me.
Okay, coming from you, that is an extraordinarily high compliment that I'm going to clip and play every morning for myself. So there we go.
Maybe we should teach a class together. That's in our future. We'll do that in the future.
There we go. Okay, well, I want to note for our audience that we are recording this on Wednesday morning, the 5th of March, after nearly 100 minutes of the State of the Union. Beyond the rhetoric and the disinformation, what are your key takeaways that you think we should have from last night's speech?
First of all, the volume and the length was the point. I watched the whole thing because it's part of my job to watch the whole thing. I actually ended up sitting on the set the entire time, and they told us we could walk around, but I thought, if I walk around, I'm not going to watch the entire speech, and I need to watch the entire speech. There was so much in there that was inaccurate and not factual. And that's a very important part of this. And I know a lot of media organizations, including us, are pulling apart all of those pieces. But and we can talk about any of that too. But in a 10,000 foot or 50,000 foot takeaway, what struck me is that it was very self-indulgent. It was not actually, it was performative at many times. Every State of the Union is a bit performative, but I think, unfortunately, he also used people who had been victims in what I found to be a little bit of a gross way at times. I also think there were moments, and this is what I think is one of the important things, is now that we're recovering from this. I mean, I was exhausted watching it because it was so long and there were so many things that were wrong in it, is that he was telling us things like, I'm going after your Social Security, right? He didn't say, I'm going after your Social Security, but he laid the predicate. This is what he does, right? He laid the predicate, just like he has in the past, for the election is rigged, for going after Social Security and suggesting that it is full of fraud. It's not. That people who are dead are getting Social Security. They're not. And he needs to do that because that's the only way for him to cut money, unless he's going to cut money from the Defense Department. So there was a lot to take away. We can dive into any aspect you want. But the Social Security piece for me was one that I hope Democrats have a real strategy and plan to keep talking about, because that was a very clear signal to me of what he intends to do in the weeks and months ahead.
Well, let's stick with Social Security, because we know that he intentionally telegraphs his punches, or maybe it's not intentional, but he's like a con man, or he is a con man, and he will trick your mind, or at least try to distract your eye by giving you X so that he can justify Y. And we know, of course, as you pointed out, that this debunked lie that millions of people over the age of 100 or 200 or 300 are receiving benefits was designed to lay the groundwork to, as you just pointed out very accurately, to destroy Social Security. And we know they've already started. Dodge, I refuse to call it anything else, and Elon Musk, they're already closing down Social Security offices across the country, including 5 right here in the state of Georgia. And that they're doing this just as baby boomers are retiring in massive numbers. And I think that's the other point, that any other time in history, an attack on Social Security would have been deeply problematic. Now it's catastrophic. And so can you talk a bit more about, regardless of partisanship, how people need to understand this moment and what they should be doing in response?
Well, let me start with the substantive side of it, because we're nerdy and I love that about you. If my statistics are right, more than 72 million people in the country receive Social Security checks. They're not all old. I mean, people rely on Social Security for a range of reasons. It's also a program that people pay into. It is not free money from the government or something like that. It is a program people pay into and people rely on. For any range of reasons, for their rent, for food, for whatever it may be. What struck me last night, I was sitting right next to Michelle Norris on the set, and she said near the end of it was almost midnight. It was almost like, and she said, before we go, anybody out there who's watching, print off your Social Security earnings right now, which was very specific, but I thought was so instructive, because it is like, hey, everyone, we here sitting on this set, we can't stop this, but we're telling you what we heard from what he just said. That's the substance of it. I will also add that one of the things, that the backdrop of this was just always important. None of these speeches happen in vacuums, right? I mean, even if he's saying, I'm defending workers and I love farmers, you're like, well, if you love farmers, why are you cutting their subsidies and screwing them over and ending USAID, where they do a lot of their contracts to give food to the world? I mean, childhood cancer, you've cut childhood cancer funding, investment in childhood cancer research. Okay, let me get back to Social Security. That's the substance. On the politics of it, I think what's one of the challenging things right now, I find, and you and I talked about this on my podcast, is that it is it can become a whack-a-mole situation. And this is the thing about like fact checking the speech last night, which is important and everybody should do. And when we came back to coverage after the speech, Rachel Maddow did like this 12 point version of that, but you could do a 100-point version of that. We could just spend all of our time fact checking. And really in these moments, it's not that you have to, I'm not a believer that you have to just like pick a thing to support. I don't. But you got to pick a thing to fight on, right? And pick a thing or two to fight on, right? Because otherwise it's too confusing. It's like, wait, you're for USAID and you're for the FAA, you're for Fed. People don't have to all pick the same thing. But I think the Social Security front politically is that this is an issue that impacts, again, 72 million Americans or more, people's grandparents, people's kids, people's futures. If I'm the Democrats right now or Democratic Party, I am investing in making that clear, taking that clip from the speech last night and pushing that out, pushing anyone I'm running against to go on the record on whether they agree with what he just said. Reminding people, Martin O'Malley, who was, of course, the governor of Maryland, but was the Social Security administrator most recently, said just a couple of days ago that he thinks the program, which has never missed a payment in 80 years, could have issues doing that, making everybody's payments in the next 30 to 90 days. So that is what I would be in the political space. That's what you focus on. Specificity is your friend in politics, I think, right? Yes, it is, Trump is, he is many things, but he is hurting our democracy. Of course, he is moving toward authoritarianism. He is trying to gut all of those are true. But to me, this moment is this man does not want you to get your Social Security checks you have paid into and you rely on. That's what he's telling you. And it's like simplifying and being specific.
And I think it's adding to that. He's going to take your money to give it to the wealthiest people in human history. Yep. That he's not just taking your Social Security. He is handing it to someone who wants to use it to fly to Mars, not to buy insulin, not to buy groceries, but to pay to go to Mars. And that's what he wants us to believe is the right thing to do, because we should be idolizing these extraordinarily wealthy people who are trying to make us pay for their hobbies and pay for their dreams. But I want to go back to one thing you said on Social Security and just want to emphasize everyone. You can go right now to the Social Security Administration, just Google Social Security, or don't Google it, use DuckDuckGo or someone else. Look for the Social Security Administration, sign up to pull down your statement, and also pull down, it gives you a list of what it thinks you should receive when you finally retire. This is incredibly important because, as Jen, as you were saying, people need to know what they're about to do. And we know they've already gone into our systems. We know they've already started changing information. We need to know what the information says now, because one of the ways this kind of scheme works is if you don't know what you're entitled to, you don't know you've been cheated. Mm-hmm. And so just want to flag for everyone, one of your to-dos is make sure that you go to Social Security and download it. You've got to go through some things. You've got to sign up for there are a couple of two-party verification systems that they now use, but take the time to do it, get it done, because that's going to matter. Okay.
Yeah.
With that little commercial.
Very important.
Assembly Required with Stacie Abrams is brought to you by OneSkin. Did you know the skin around your eyes can be 20 to 30 years biologically older than the rest of your face? It's up to 5 times thinner, too, which makes it more vulnerable to things like wrinkles, sagging, and cellular damage. That's why OneSkin's founding team of scientists created OS01i. Designed specifically for this ultra-delicate area, OS01i has the highest concentration of OneSkin's proprietary OS01 peptide, the first ingredient scientifically proven to reverse skin's biological age. It works by switching off the senescent or zombie cells that accumulate here and make your skin look older than it needs to. You know everything OneSkin does is backed by science, And their clinical study on OS01I was just published in the International Journal of Cosmetic Science, with data showing significant improvement in firmness, elasticity, hydration, and better overall appearance. I use OS01I both as part of my nightly skincare routine and to keep my under eyes hydrated, like right before putting on my makeup for the day. Especially in the wintertime, every ounce of hydration can help me avoid dryness and keep skin looking fresh. Founded and led by an all-woman team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS01 peptide, the first ingredient proven to help skin look, feel, and behave like its younger self. Check out OS01I for yourself, or any of OneSkin's moisturizers, sunscreens, or cleansers, and get 15% off your first purchase with code ASSEMBLY at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code ASSEMBLY. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you. Assembly Required is brought to you by ZBiotics, Sugar to Fiber. Crooked Media listeners have heard great things about ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic. Now there's an exciting new product to help with everyday challenges. Let's face it, it is tough to always eat a balanced diet. Extra sugar is found in so many foods, and no matter how hard I try, I'm not eating as much fiber as I'd like. Enter Sugar to Fiber Probiotic Mix. The PhD microbiologists over at ZBiotics understand that extra sugar is all but impossible to avoid these days, and 95% of Americans don't get enough fiber. So they genetically engineered a probiotic to convert some extra sugar from our everyday diet into a prebiotic fiber called levain. This leads to a more balanced microbiome, the key to a healthy gut. One stick pack of Sugar to Fiber, and you will get a daily dose of fiber from the foods you already eat. Drinking Sugar to Fiber is an easy way to bring more fiber into your diet without having to make other major additions to what you eat every day. With other issues on my mind, Sugar to Fiber can help me achieve my goals without going out of my way. And it helps me move towards a healthier outcome, even if I'm not making the perfect choices. In 2025, I'm prioritizing my microbiome. Sugar to Fiber is a daily insurance that fiber is on the checklist. Go to zbiotics.com/assembly and use assembly at checkout for 15% off any first-time orders of ZBiotics probiotics. Thanks to ZBiotics' 100% money-back guarantee, if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode.
Duck Walk by Ariel Williams. Henrietta Wilkins rushes to church one Sunday morning, accidentally leaving her gate open. Her duck, Duckweisha, seizes the chance to take her 5 ducklings to the local pond. Along the way, the ducklings fall into a manhole, causing a town-wide rescue effort. After a frantic search, Duckweisha finds her ducklings safely swimming in the pond, and the heartwarming story makes local news. Meanwhile, Henrietta realizes her mistake and panics, but the firemen reunite her with Duckweisha and her ducklings, bringing a happy ending to their adventure.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
The Terms and Conditions of a King, A New Beginning. Ariel, with her young daughter Jasmine, walked into the optical lens store one day to find King being verbally attacked by his coworkers. Witnessing this harsh treatment, Ariel immediately felt a deep sense of sympathy and concern for King. She stepped in, offering support, which forged a strong bond of friendship between them. Over time, as their friendship blossomed, they began to share their personal lives and struggles. Eventually, they both discovered something astonishing. They had been connected for much longer than either realized. They had been meeting in a shared dreamscape, where they had formed a deep, unspoken connection. Ariel had been there to comfort King in a difficult time, offering him advice, unaware that their paths would eventually cross in the waking world. This revelation deepened their bond, and they began to explore not only their growing friendship but also the strange, mystical connection they shared through their dreams.
Get your digital copy today at lulubooks.com and experience the adventure in EPUB or PDF format. Make sure you have a compatible reader to dive into this unforgettable journey. Don't miss out, unlock the secrets, and let the story begin.
En el pequeño y encantador pueblo de Springfield, Ohio, vivía una regia poodle estándar llamada Bella. Bella pertenecía a la señora von Thorsenberg, una figura bien conocida en la comunidad, siempre elegante, conservadora en sus modales, pero demócrata de toda la vida. Durante años, organizó reuniones elegantes, se involucró en la política local y trató su hogar como un reino. Recientemente, sin embargo, las cosas habían cambiado. La señora von Thorsenberg había estado viendo mucho Fox News, y eso parecía haber cambiado su forma de pensar. Ya no era la demócrata que defendía las causas comunitarias, en cambio, se había convertido en una ferviente partidaria. Para más información haga clic en el enlace del árbol en el perfil.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.